This is my friend Mark, and Mark has worked around. You've worked around electronics, haven't you? And all of that technology,
IT and security and yeah, that sort of stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you've worked around early day computers like the BBC computers and things like
Oh,
that.
yeah, I had Tandy TRS-80 in
Right.
about 1980, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I was leaving
Yeah,
school when they were just coming out, the BBC computers, and to
yeah.
realise it still freaks me out that I've got more technology on this phone than they had
Mm.
on them, and the ones they sent to the moon. Well, yeah, yeah,
Mate, I mean, there's more technology in that phone than there was in a 500 square foot computer suite in, you know, back in my day.
yeah. Well, same
Literally,
here.
lucky if you got 64K of memory or something, you know, in the side of the fridge. Yeah? Now it's changed so much.
Yeah.
It's so decentralized now, you know.
Do you think? How do you think this form of reality we're doing here and the reality we're all in? How do you think it's encroached into our society? Do you think it's really got into it, or is we're still not there yet? You know, still.
Ooh.
You know, do you know what I mean? We still, me and you meet for coffee.
Right.
We still meet
Yeah.
for coffee. But this is also, yeah. What do you think?
I think it's changed enormously. I mean, I've been doing these video conferences since, well, for about the last 15 years, I suppose, at work. Um, but I mean, back then you couldn't do it on your phone sitting in a park or something.
No.
You know, I mean, mobile phones have sort of revolutionised things because you can be anywhere. And unfortunately, I think it's also allowed a lot of what we call reality to get a bit skewed
Yeah.
as a result. You know, and I've been watching that for a long time because that was part of the sort of security job that I used to do, was looking at what was the threats, you know, that
Yeah.
were out there
Yeah.
in the big
Yeah.
wide world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit like I met someone who went to see Kraftwerk play when they first came over the Royal Albert Stage and filled the whole stage up, and then went in the 90s to see Tribal Gathering and they had laptops. You know, they invented the drum shit. He said, honestly,
Yeah.
Kev, there was only four of them and they took the whole of the Albert Stage over. And there they are now
Well,
playing
I'm,
laptops.
I'm a bit old school in some ways, I suppose. I'm talking to you I'm staring at a 28-inch screen, and I've got a huge tower unit down here that I converted from a gaming device, which has got like a huge amount of storage on it, and it runs two operating systems, and you know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
pretty woozy. Um, I kind of shied away from iPhones and iPads because
Yeah.
they're so blooming expensive. You
Well,
know?
that's the main reason I haven't got an iPhone or anything like that, or
Yeah.
an Apple phone, because they're 600 quid. I mean, this one was next to nothing.
Yeah.
Do you think all this technology it's a good thing?
Well, it's a bit like splitting the atom, isn't it? You know, splitting the atom seemed like a good thing back, you know,
Yeah.
Rutherford and all those guys. But unfortunately, we misused that power we had to bomb Hiroshima, you know, and now
Yeah.
threaten each other with it. Whereas it would have been far better used for medical science and for producing energy and so
Yeah, yeah.
forth.
It's the thing is with nuclear power stations, they are good and they're reliable, but if they go wrong,
Yeah,
they go.
it's very, very lethal. Yeah.
yeah. They do. Someone explained it to me how it all works, and it was just like, well, you know, it's just, look, it's just the problem is, it's just there's waste, and you have to get rid of it. And unfortunately, this is extremely dangerous waste that you only need a couple of drops of it, and you're dead. Yeah, you know. I've got friends who worked in the dockyard around asbestos and never caught in it. I mean, was it 2 fibres?
Yeah.
And you're dead. You're dead.
Yeah.
Do you think reality is changing? Because you and I, is there an age difference of like 10 years?
I'm 66.
Well, I'm 56, so yeah, this year.
Right, yeah.
So this reality, you've seen a lot of reality changes. You know, when you were a young man, could you ever think of this? Because I couldn't. You know, the fact I could have my albums on this.
we didn't even have colour TV when I was very young.
I can remember colour TV, you know, coming about.
Yeah. And if you wanted to spread a message, you had to use a photocopier.
Yeah, the old cranking ones. Yeah, I've had one of them buggers. Yeah, standing all day cracking out leaflets.
Yeah. And now you can project yourself right across the whole planet, can't you?
Well,
you know,
there's the great thing they've been doing in Dover. I don't know if you've seen it. They've been filming refugees, and they've been putting them on against the walls by the ferry in Dover. It's really, really good. It's very powerful. I've done it myself. I projected stuff on around Mutley Plain, and it is quite interesting to do that. And I like. So do you think it's good or bad, the reality that's changing? And you know, is this real? Are we being real now, Mark? Are we being real?
Yeah, we are, because we're two human beings talking to each other directly in real time, and I can see your expressions and all that sort of stuff. So
there is a good point of it,
isn't it?
Yeah, because on the phone you don't get that. But do you think it's getting a little bit too dangerous?
I think it's being misused. In fact, I don't think it's being misused. I know that technology is being misused, and it is actually now really being used to alter our perceptions of what reality actually is.
Yeah.
You see that every day on social media. And there are people quoting the most ridiculous facts that aren't facts. And if you try to sort of put them right, you get a lot of grief these days, and we seem to have sort of weaponised information in a way.
Yeah, well, my dad was a compositor and he was a typesetter, and in the 80s they modernised, and his job was made, and it was like, look, John, you've got to retrain. And it's like, I've been here 50 years. I mean, luckily, it was the print, and the pension was good. Yeah. And you know, I'm unlucky to the Daily Mirror lot, and that's the one thing that my dad really, Maxwell and Max Clifford, don't talk about them. So, he had mates done over by it because he was in the NJU. He had mates done over by it. You see my calm, collective dad get very angry about that.
Actually, because if you go back to the 60s, the newspapers held all the power, really.
Dad said it wasn't to the Profumo case that the gloves were truly off. After that, you know, I asked my dad when my dad's
the guy who owned the Mirror Group, Cecil Holmesworth King, attempted to bring down the Labour government. Harold Wilson government, with some help from the Greys. So I mean that was the beginning of maybe misuse of the power of the newspapers.
Well, that's what sold papers, and it's like when my dad died at his funeral. One of his best mates, who was in the union with him, and I spoke to him about this, and he said, "Look, Kev, we printed the paper. We printed news, not some pop star's tits. He said, the news we get now, your dad wouldn't get it. My dad wouldn't cope with this shit. I mean, they printed proper news. Yeah. When Michael, my brother, emptied his house out, he found an old Daily Star, and he phoned up his Bernard, and he went, "Is it colour page?" And he went, "Yeah, can I have it?" And he went, "It's not worth anything, but it was the first colour picture." And you know, Dad was saying that this is going to cost, if you wanted to advertise in colour, 20 grand in the 80s. We all went down. We'd spent 20 odd years printing black and white, you know, and stuff like that. And it is how the media. But do you think it's being controlled, as well as our reality? What we're given.
I think it varies. You know. It's very difficult to ascertain these days, because there are groups of people who are quite intelligent and well read, who will try to convince you that certain facts that are false when they're not, or true when they're not. So yeah, I think so, and that's how we tend to misuse things, isn't it?
Yeah.
So now, my reality could be completely different from your reality.
Yeah. Do you
Because of what's been fed in here.
Yeah.
Media.
Because we it's nothing wrong with having our own form of reality, is it? As long as it's not harmful to others. I'm saying in a nice way. I don't believe everybody is in this so-called reality here all the time. We all escape, don't we? We all escape. That's what we have EastEnders for, Corrie, and that's why we have these magazines, that Heat magazines, and who really is this interesting person? But yeah, I get what you mean, Mark, as well. So do you like?
I'm a real doubter of conspiracy theories. I don't mean I dismiss them or I've got a claim.
Yeah, I'm the same.
But whenever anybody tells me something that doesn't, but even if it does fit with my view of reality, actually, I tend to go and try and check things out and see where this information.
Well, that's where I got mine from my dad. My dad said that. My dad